what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell.
Right now, it's time to start paying attention if you haven't up to this point. The right wing in this country, the conservatives in this country, the Trump cult in this country, and the people who are administrating the terror that we're all facing are trying to label the Democratic Party an extremist domestic terror organization so that they can stop fundraising, stop people from being members of the Democratic Party, so they can be a one-party country, much like Russia or China, or name another dictatorial authoritarian state. That is what Donald Trump wants. And they're doing it in public and acting like it's no big deal. And the way that they're going to do this is through labeling any violence that comes, any chaos that comes in a country where mass shootings are an everyday occurrence. They're going to act like the uptick in political violence forces them to do the thing that they're going to do, and that they're going to do premeditatedly. Yesterday, there was a shooting at an ICE facility, and before anyone knew any of the motives at all, they did the same thing they did with the killing of Charlie Kirk and acted like this is a radical, left-wing, radical, insane terrorist doing this. They don't know anything. In fact, the evidence that they put forward early, before anything is known, before there's any suspect named, they're saying, we found cartridge casings, unspent cartridge casings with the words, with an anti-ICE message on it. And you would think that anti-ICE message would be something like, F ICE, defund the police. No, it was anti-ICE, which really, to me, smacks of that story from a few years back where the old white man from Mississippi claimed that black vandals burned his Mississippi Confederate flag and scrawled graffiti on his driveway. And the graffiti was blacks rule. Wholly unbelievable. Because in the mind of this elderly white man, this racist from Tennessee, he's like, how do them blacks talk? Oh, I know, blacks rule, underline. Blacks rule. It's the same energy with this. And I'm laughing about it because, that's how I cope, I guess. But it is not funny. We are facing annihilation here. We are facing authoritarianism with the fascist boot upon our neck. And J.D. Vance, tip of the spear here, was on giving a speech yesterday, doing the same exact thing, justifying in a premeditated manner the thing that they're going to do. Saying that you can't call your opponents Nazis. You can't call them Hitler. You can't call them fascist. You can't call them authoritarian. I'm going to read to you exactly in his own words what he said about Donald Trump. I will show you images that Fox News even put up on screen of the things that he's called Donald Trump. But before I do that, let's visit what J.D. Vance said yesterday about what you cannot do when you talk about the leaders in the United States.
If you want to stop political violence, stop attacking our law enforcement as the Gestapo. If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop political violence, look in the mirror. That's the way that we stop political violence in this country, and we've got to do it.
Is that right, J.D. Vance? If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everyone who disagrees with you is a Nazi? That's interesting. But I'm not surprised by Trump's rise, said J.D. Vance in a Facebook message. And I think the entire party has only itself to blame, meaning the Republicans. We are, whether we like it or not, the party of lower income, lower education white people. And I've been saying for a long time that we need to offer those people something. And hell, he says, as an aside, as an afterthought, hell, maybe even expand our appeal to working class black people in the process. I mean, if it's going to help us, why not help black people too? Says J.D. Vance when he was in his reasonable phase. Or a demagogue would. We are now at that point. Trump is the fruit of the party's collective neglect. I go back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical asshole like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler, said J.D. Vance. How's that for discouraging? Again, he's also called Donald Trump noxious, reprehensible, cultural heroin. J.D. Vance has called Donald Trump. So save me the crocodile tears. Spare me the fake incredulousness, J.D. Vance, that you can't, if you want to stop political violence, you can't call your political opponents Nazis, says the guy who called the guy he works for a fucking Nazi. It rings hollow, J.D. Vance, because you are an opportunist. You're a lying, soulless, dignity-free actor, a boil on the body politic of the United States. You clown. He went on naming Gavin Newsom, calling him out, tying him to political violence, when we know that political violence in this country comes almost exclusively at the hands of conservatives and their psycho cult members. Watch J.D. Vance calling out the governor of California.
Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
That's a lie, but even if it were true, encouragement is not what you think it is. It's not encouraging people. And even if it were, which it is not, it's a lot better than actual incitement of violence, the actual dispatching of an armed, angry, white supremacist mob to attempt to overthrow the United States government by way of overturning a free and fair election. The insurrection, I may remind you, J.D. Vance, came at the behest of America's Hitler, your boss, Donald Trump. Because he's an insecure weakling, sore loser, who couldn't handle not being reelected to office. He brings it full circle here, talking about what we know. Speaking of Black's rule, here's what we know about the shooting. By the way, this had just happened. We didn't know anything. They're doing the exact same thing they did with Charlie Kirk, appending his assassination on they. They did it. They want to stop his message. They. Even though it was a lone gunman whose motives we don't even know yet. Watch this and then we'll wrap.
This country in the last couple of weeks, and that was true maybe until this morning, because I don't know if you all have followed the news, and we're still learning a little bit about it. But what we know is that in Dallas, Texas, an ICE facility, an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement facility, was opened fire upon by a violent left-wing extremist, a person who wrote anti-ICE messaging on their bullets. And there's some evidence that we have that's not yet public, but we know this person was politically motivated. They were politically motivated to go after law enforcement. They were politically motivated to go after people who are enforcing our border. And I think that is the most disgusting thing.
Here's the thing that's completely unbelievable that you have to believe the FBI run by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to believe. And also, there's some stuff that we haven't even made public yet. The party The administration that wants you to believe there were these mysterious burn bags in these mysterious unknown rooms that they found is also the party that wants you to believe that these bullets were written on by the perpetrator, the suspect, who we can't ask any questions of because they killed themselves. Very believable, very honest, J.D. Vance. You ring very credible, J.D. Vance, you soulless ghoul, serving a man you yourself called America's Hitler. What would that make you, J.D.? What would that make you? We've elected a stupid person to high office. Stupid people elected this stupid person to high office, who got to office by an electoral process that he has no understanding of. Of course, we knew the moment that Kamala Harris raised her head again to promote the book or whatever project she's working on, Donald Trump would have to respond. And he did indeed, just like you expect he would on Truth Social. And I'm going to read that. But we're going to get into, again, the same projection that is on display by the weak and stupid and feckless and insecure Donald Trump. Because anytime he levels an accusation against somebody, dollars to donuts or whatever the saying is, you can hang your hat on it. You can set a timer to it that the thing he's accusing someone else of, he's guilty of. And in this case, it's Kamala Harris being dumb as a rock. This is a doozy, and we're going to go through just how little understanding Donald Trump has of basic civics. The same party that wants to hold immigrants that want to come to this country to be citizens to this lofty standard of understanding the granular level of how our government works and the processes which drive change in our country. The president of the United States, their president of the United States, doesn't know his ass from his elbow about how things work. Again, the man is intellectually incurious, unlike any other president we've ever had, and that includes doofuses. Doofusai? Like George W. Bush. Get a load of this tweet, this post on True Social from Trump. Kamala Harris, who is dumb as a rock, is going around and using as a standard part of her speech, capitalized for some reason, because, he's so smart, on why she lost the election, capitalized for no reason at all, but, he's smart. That 2024 was the closest presidential election, capitalized for some weird reason. It's so strange that this is his native tongue. The only language he speaks, the only language he writes in, and he is an 80-year-old guy who he hadn't figured it out yet. I guess maybe if he lives to 90, he will eventually learn how to communicate in his native language. Maybe it takes 9 decades for a Trump to figure it out. I'll stop pointing out all of the grammar mistakes, his capitalization mistakes, his language mistakes. In the closest presidential election in 21st century. Everyone knows this is a lie, and it was covered as such by Fox News. I won the Electoral College, 312 to 226, a landslide. Counties nationwide, 2,600 to 525, a landslide. All 7 swing states, a landslide. And despite the fact that California's fake mail-in ballots came in at ridiculous numbers, it was rigged. I still won the popular vote by millions. Bush, as example, won the election by 537 votes, and many other elections were very close. Kamala's closest in the 21st century soundbite was, like everything else in the Democratic Party, a total lie. I expect an apology. Oh, thank you for your attention to this matter, says Donald Trump, the absolute dipshit in chief. Now, what Donald Trump very likely does not know is that the 21st century didn't start in the year 2000. It starts on January 1st, 2001. That's when the 21st century begins. But he's just too stupid to know that she is absolutely accurate, technically accurate, generally accurate in what she said. It's amazing that he has no idea what things are around him. But let's move into this other element of this. He posted this, the tweet with this image, and I went and found this particular article that he pulled to give you a fuller accounting for what this image is. And you've heard the saying before that land doesn't vote. And that is exactly what conservatives, anytime you see this, it does look like a landslide. This looks like, wow, that's a tremendous, overwhelming victory on the part of Donald Trump. Here's the problem for those of you who don't understand it, who still look at this map and are marveled by the champion nature of Donald Trump. Let's go. Let me take you on a trip, a geography lesson of some of the area that I grew up in. We're going to start with my home county, Clearwater County, Idaho. A pretty large by land. It takes up a pretty substantial portion of this map compared to like some of the states that you would have over here on the East Coast. Clearwater County, total area, about 2,500 square miles. That includes the Dworshak Reservoir, which is there as well. But 2,500 square miles, that's a big landmass, right? The population of my home county, the county in which I went to elementary school and junior high and high school, wow. Not even 10,000 people. 9,151 people. That's what I'm talking about. Land doesn't vote. It takes up an outsized portion on the map. But I want to compare it to something. So let's go to a county that's even larger and has a little bit larger population just to the south of Clearwater County, Idaho County. Total area of 8,500 square miles, 22,000 square kilometers. That's huge. A population of almost 18,000 people. And let's compare this to Los Angeles County, which is half the size geographically of Idaho County, with a population 4,700 square miles in Los Angeles County, the population of nearly 10 million people, a population 6 times greater than the entire state of Idaho in one county. But it shows up, a little blue area. So the right wing thinks, that's just a little tiny area, even though there's 10 million people that live inside that county versus 17,912 or 9,151. This is it. Land doesn't vote. People vote. Land is not important. People are important. Land does not have life. People have lives. One other little fact about Los Angeles County, by the way, Clearwater County, as beautiful as it is, and it is, and Idaho County, as robust and beautiful as it is up there on the prairies with the farmland, it's not rich enough to even list what the GDP of these particular counties are, but Los Angeles County is. Los Angeles County provides great value to this nation as a whole, not just the region. Los Angeles County's GDP is nearly $1 trillion. $1 trillion. And Clearwater County and Idaho County, as massive land mass that they are, it's not $1 trillion. It's very likely not even $100 million. I don't know because they didn't list it on the Wikipedia because it's not important enough to list. Donald Trump is stupid. We've elected a stupid person to high office. Stupid people elected this stupid person to high office. A man who got to office by an electoral process that he has no understanding of, wants to act like he won in a landslide when he didn't get it a majority. It's a plurality he won by, like 49.8% or something. He didn't get a majority of the vote. He got a majority of the vote between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the majority of that vote, but not in the compendium of all the things, all the things that are measured, all the other candidates. So when Donald Trump says she's dumb as a rock, I assure you it's because he feels terrible inside because he identifies as that dumb as a rock moron. He is stupid and he knows he's stupid. And all of the bluster that doesn't work on normal people, it just convinces MAGA that he's, oh, look how confident he is. They can't see past the fact that he is a physical weakling, a mental weakling, a coward, an insecure child who was hugged too much by his mom and maybe not enough by his dad. They broke him. And now we have to suffer for it.
But you know what, Caitlin, just if you guys would just tell the truth, I'll send you the copies of the ones that you've gotten wrong that we've been able to correct.
While we are being told as Democrats, as liberals, as decent, kind-hearted Americans, as we're being told to bring down the temperature, to tone down the rhetoric, we're being told, because it's causing left-wing violence to explode. All of this is being done to undergird and predicate their decision that has already been made to declare martial law or crack down on free speech or send in the military to invade and occupy United States cities under the auspices of what Donald Trump has described as war. All of this is on us. You have to do this. These are the rules for thee, but not for me. That's how they feel about it. And the reason I say that is because they've displayed this, they've demonstrated this, they've proved this to be true time and time and time and time again, day after day after day, especially in the wake of Charlie Kirk's shooting. I have here, we witnessed J.D. Vance, I just got done talking about, saying we need to bring down the temperature and you can't call your enemies Nazis or Hitler, even though he is the guy who called Donald Trump Hitler. We got here Kristi Noem doing the same exact thing. How many times have you heard her talk about, you can't call us authoritarian, you can't call us fascists, it will cause violence. Gavin Newsom has said these things about me and it caused my family to panic. Oh, they're so worried for my safety because of the things that Gavin Newsom has said. And here she is on CNN yesterday doing the same thing that she's saying causes violence. Who are we to believe? I laugh because obviously it's not Republicans. It is self-evident that they are not to be trusted because they have a plan in mind and they are driving full speed ahead to accomplish it. And it all involves creating a terrorist organization out of the Democratic Party to where no one can donate to it. No one can run as a Democrat. We will have one party in the United States, a la the Soviet Union, a la Russia today, a la China or some other authoritarian state. You think that Kim Jong-un has an opponent he has to vanquish in an election? There are no elections. It's not how it works. And that's what Donald Trump wants. Watch Kristi Noem be the hypocrite of hypocrites. Also, as an aside, why didn't her face ever move? You would think she would be expressive about this, that these are serious times and I'm upset and I'm worried, but that doesn't really show on her face, curiously enough.
We have seen Democrats out there take extreme positions and support radical criminal organizations. Their support of terrorists such as MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, and seeing U.S. senators go and have margaritas with them in a foreign country to support them and their child trafficking and human trafficking exploits, I think is a tragic thing to experience in the United States.
Chris Van Hollen said that was basically a setup by Bukele. But I just think the question is, would you label them a domestic extremist organization, as Stephen Miller did?
I would love to see these Democrats denounce these criminals.
Seems to me that if anything is going to spark violence against someone, it's labeling them supporters of terrorists. She's asserting that you as a Democrat, me as a Democrat, that we support criminal organizations like Tren de Aragua and MS-13, and that United States senators are going down to El Salvador to have a margarita with a terrorist, she says. She is equating demanding due process for even those accused of horrific crimes as support for terrorists. Demanding that the Constitution be honored, followed, that their oaths to the Constitution be honored and followed, that is the support of terrorism. And let me tell you this. Speaking of due process, if they can deny due process to criminals, they can deny due process to anyone, because the way that you determine if someone is a criminal is through due process. Are we to believe that whatever Donald Trump thinks, whatever Donald Trump feels at any given time, whatever Donald Trump determines through his addled moron brain, whoever he thinks is a terrorist, and we don't need due process? That's what they're asserting here. It is through the process of due process that we determine who the criminals are. You can't just say that these people are Trendale Ragwa or MS-13 or whatever. You can't just make the claim. You can't just say, oh, that boat's filled with fentanyl dealers. We need to bomb it out of the sea. You have to provide evidence of that. And the place that you provide that evidence, anyway, you get it. Due process, constitutional concept in multiple constitutional amendments. So this is a woman who demands the temperature be taken down, that the rhetoric be toned down. Then she lies, does the same thing she's asking everyone, does the same thing she's demanding everyone stop doing. And now she's on in the same interview, just minutes later, 2 minutes later, begins to demand that the media tell the truth after she lied for minutes straight. She demands that CNN, I just wish, she says in her fake solemn tone, in her fake, earnest tone, you just need to really report on this. These babies are blah, blah, blah. Lies, 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 lies. Disgusting. Watch this.
And I wish that our media, and I wish reporters like you, Caitlin, would talk about the victims every day that we interact with, that we send you the stories on, that you refuse to tell, about the poor little girl and baby that was strangled yesterday by an illegal criminal and died. That baby died overnight. That was the first news I got this morning when I got up at 4 a.m. Then the next news that I got was that the media had reported that a father had his child taken away from him, when in all reality, this poor little autistic girl was abandoned by her father.
But CNN didn't report that, right? Right, Secretary Noem?
But you know what, Caitlin, just if you guys would just tell the truth about what these criminals are and what they've done in their history.
We tell the truth
and make it
every
about
night.
the victim. That'd be fantastic. We send out about 5 or 6 different press releases every day correcting stories, and I'll send you the copies of the ones that you've gotten wrong that we've been able to correct. But these law enforcement officers are being demonized, and they should be supported because they have families too, and they live in these communities. Their kids go to school there. Their spouses go to work, and they just want to go at night and make their community and their city safer.
Secretary Noem, as you know, if we get something wrong, we correct it. But also, what you just referenced there is not something that CNN reported. And obviously, we strive for accuracy every night.
I'll send you copies of what you've gotten wrong, says the frozen-faced Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem. This is a sinister plot that is underway in public. And just because it's public does not mean that it's up on the up and up. When Donald Trump eventually does declare martial law or whatever declaration of emergency that he makes that's akin to, that equates to martial law, people are going to be surprised by it. And they should not be, because people, many, not just me, but others, have been ringing this bell for months that this is what Donald Trump wants. Since the inauguration. This is why the 2026 election is so important, to show up in overwhelming numbers to defeat Donald Trump, to send Democrats in overwhelming numbers to the Congress so we can actually have oversight. We can actually have some weapon against the authoritarian state of Donald Trump, some leverage against the overtake of fascism in the United States of America. It's what we need. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're up to the task. I hope you are in messaging mode to convince your neighbors, your friends, your acquaintances, your family that it's time to step up and retake our power as an electorate. because who knows what tricks they've got in store for the 2026 midterms. We're going to have to show up in massive numbers to defeat whatever chicanery they have planned. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. First, though, I ask that you subscribe to this channel. You can click the subscribe button for free below the video on YouTube. We're marching steadily toward 1.5 million subscribers. I am not worthy of your support, but I appreciate it very much. You can also follow and like the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. And then after that, if you really want to tell me how wrong I am, you can comment below, or you can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. If you want to take your support to the next level, for $1.99 a month, you can become a channel member on YouTube by clicking the join button below, or you can go over to my Patreon page, which is an even better option, patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast.
Well, if you were one of the tens watching CNN last night, which has more employees than actual viewers at this point, guys, let's just say they did not find the humor in all of this.
It is a full-time job to keep up with the hypocrisy and the lies and the disgusting, degenerative behavior of Republicans on a daily basis. There's a 5-alarm fire every single day that we must put out that Donald Trump starts. Some of it's distraction, like this story is. Donald Trump doesn't want you to keep talking about the Epstein files. And on that note, what do you think is in there? What is so damning? What is so convicting of Donald Trump? What kind of an indictment lies in those documents with Donald Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, that they are going gangbusters? Republicans are threatening other Republicans to not vote, to have the Congress vote to release these documents. It is a full court press to get these documents to stay secret and private. Very alarming. And this story serves as distraction from that. But talking about this story, let's me talk about the Jeffrey Epstein story. Let's me also point out that this is why the Jeffrey Epstein story is why Donald Trump is doing shit like this, embarrassing things like this, unpresidential things like this. For all of the talk about Obama's tan suit, or that he put Dijon mustard on a fucking hot dog, Donald Trump has created a walk of fame, like a Hollywood walk of fame, except now it's portraits and photographs of presidents going back to George Washington along the portico in the outside the Oval Office at the White House complex. And the right wing is just, they cannot get enough. They are so pleased that their president is not presidenting. Instead, he's trolling. They love, he's owning the libs. Oh, look at him go. While he doesn't govern. While he allows the Project 2025 ghouls and Stephen Miller, the little Nazi puke, he's allowing him to govern in his stead. He's allowing the most loyal sycophants and bootlicking cowards to wield power like the fascist enablers they are, and fascists themselves, while he does shit like this. While he erects massive 88-foot flagpoles in a nod to white supremacists on both the south and the north lawn of the White House. Like it's a giant, weird fucking car dealership. Next, we're going to get the wacky, waving, inflatable car guy out there. But he'll be in it'll look like a flag though, so it'll be all cool. Everything's cool, everybody. It's the flag, so. This is how Fox News categorized this walk of fame, which I buried the lead. You'll see Biden's portrait. Sign of the times, the White House unveiled the presidential walk of fame outside the West Wing, which showed a portrait of former President Joe Biden replaced with the image of an AUTOPEN. And we'll just play the video over me while I'm talking about this. Look, is it important? Does it move the needle relative to the things that are most important about the ruining of lives in this country, about starving children, food literally being taken from their mouths by Donald Trump, the millions and millions of people who will die as a result of the gutting of USAID? No, this does not move the needle. But is it crass? Is it stupid? Is it him wasting time rather than actually doing his job? Yes, it's all those things. Here's Brett Baer trying to report on this story like it's a straight newsman story. And then we'll get to the gleeful, disgusting way that the C team over at Fox News, I don't even know what hour of the day this was or who these two knuckleheads are, but they are just over the moon excited about it. But first, here's Brett Baer, the reputable journalist over at Fox News, the straight newsman over at Fox News, the guy who spends holidays at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump and golfs with him all the time. Brett Baer. Gugh.
House is unveiling a presidential walk of fame featuring portraits of U.S. presidents, with the exception of former President Joe Biden. The new display just outside the Oval Office along the colonnade there shows a framed photo of an AUTOPEN writing Biden's signature in place of the former president's portrait. The White House released a photo today of President Trump looking at the...
So between the tweet and then trying to make this a normal story, we got this. And that is, again, the C or the D or the D minus team over at Fox News inviting Joe Concha over to talk about it. He doesn't even answer, doesn't even respect them enough to answer their question. He immediately starts talking about CNN. But look how gleeful they are that they get to talk about this and not the fact that Donald Trump is a credibly accused rapist of children who is named in the Epstein files dozens, maybe hundreds of times. Watch this.
Here we go. The White House unveiling the new presidential walk of fame featuring framed portraits of the U.S. presidents. But take a look. President Biden's photo isn't exactly showing his good side or any side. President Trump decided to use a picture of an AUTOPEN instead for his predecessor.
That's true. It's up there. Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, this is President Trump's humor on full display. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this?
Well, if you were one of the tens watching CNN last night, which has more employees than actual viewers at this point, guys, let's just say they did not find the humor in all of this. Abby Phillip saying, oh, wow, that's hilarious, before saying that it was beneath the office to do so. Do you know what's really beneath the office, to answer your question, Carly? Having faceless, unelected bureaucrats running the country for a president who clearly was not, and then trying to cover it all up. I am certain that is not only beneath the office, but one of the biggest scandals of our lifetimes. And this is the ultimate troll from Trump again.
This is Donald Trump's humor on full display? What do you think about this? Come on in, Joe. Let's talk about it. Traffic and weather together on the AIDS, everybody. A wacky morning zoo. I thought this was a news channel. What do you think about this, Joe Concha, who then does not answer the question? He talks about what CNN thinks about this. They are eager to distract attention away from the fact that Donald Trump is not only a court-adjudicated abuser and sexual abuser of women, but also a credibly accused rapist of children. The guy that they're defending, they can't defend enough. They debase themselves to defend the dear leader, the cult member, the party of family values, the party of deeply held religious convictions and a worshipful nature toward Jesus the Christ, the Son of God, are defending this guy, this thrice married raw dogger of porn stars that he pays to keep quiet because he was doing that while his wife was at home pregnant or with a brand new baby. That's their guy. That's not my party. That's not your party. That's their party.
Ryan, you just mentioned online that you're going to work for this non-teachers union. What do you want to say to Oklahomans who might feel like you're bailing out on them? Can you tell us when you're stepping down and when this job is coming to a close for you?
Today is a big day, a good day that Ryan Walters is no longer the superintendent of public construction for the state of Oklahoma. It's a good day for the country as a whole, for sure, but it's a good day for the children and families in Oklahoma who don't have this feckless moron running the school system that is already number 50 in the country out of 50. Good day. But there's more to this story. There's absolutely more to this story, where he's headed. And it's for sure just a cash grab. He is I don't know the numbers, but it seems to me self-evident, just an obvious thing, that he's going to be making orders of magnitude more in salary, more in money than he did as a public servant in Oklahoma. Here's what's interesting about this story. He took to Fox News to make the announcement, but he was using a studio of a different television network, a local affiliate. And when he left there from his little alcove where they did the hit, where they did the recording of him with Trace Gallagher, I think, maybe it was John Roberts. They all fucking look the same, these morons on Fox News. After his announcement, he's chased out of the little cubby where they do the little cubby hole where they do the interview. And a reporter from that network's like, hey, you want to tell us more? And he is zip. He doesn't want to talk to any locals. I just did what I did on Fox News. I got the big MAGA audience. I don't need to talk to you, local person. First, though, here he is on Fox News. Then we'll follow it up with him running away as fast as he can from hard questions from local reporters. Fox News first.
And Oklahoma State Superintendent Ryan Walters, it was kind of a swipe at you, Superintendent Walters, there. But it's interesting because you've got a little bit of breaking news for us and some big news coming out of Oklahoma. Tell us what's going on in your state and with you, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to announce I'll be stepping down as Oklahoma State Superintendent and taking on the role as the CEO of the Teacher Freedom Alliance. We're going to destroy the teachers' unions. We have seen the teachers' unions use money and power to corrupt our schools, to undermine our schools. We are one of the biggest grassroots organizations in the country. We will build an army of teachers to defeat the teachers' unions once and for all. So this fight's going national, and we will get our schools back on track. We will not allow any further union control.
These Republicans love to do that. Remember Sarah Palin? She had just got reelected governor of Alaska. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to peace out here. I got a reality TV show to make. That's what's most important. It's the same kind of thing with this dipshit Ryan Walters, this white Christian nationalist bigot, hateful tool Ryan Walters, who is dedicated not to the prospect of educating children, but indoctrinating them with right-wing propaganda. And we'll get to that. But before I do, here he is after leaving the little alcove in there. He gets talked to by a reporter just asking questions, and he can't handle it. His mind explodes as he retreats like Josh Hawley running from insurrectionists. Watch this.
So Ryan, you just mentioned online that you're going to work for this non-teachers union. What do you want to say to Oklahomans who might feel like you're bailing out on them? Can you tell us when you're stepping down and when this job is coming to a close for you? We have to ask when this relationship started because it seems like you've been pushing kind of this job for some time now. Did it interfere with your job for Oklahoma?
What's the hurry all about, Ryan Walters? What are you running from? Are you trying to get to the gym? You're just getting ahead of your workout, brother? What's so pressing? What's so urgent that you can't answer questions from local media? Interesting. Here, if you're not familiar with who this guy is, let me explain to you who he is. Not only is he the mighty, righteous man of God, the noble Christian warrior who wants to bring faith back to the children of Oklahoma, he's also the guy who during a meeting had porn on his computer. Remember this headline? MAGA superintendent who put Bibles in schools faces porn investigation. Ryan Walters reportedly played porn during an official meeting on his laptop in view of the other meeting attendees. And how did that investigation wind up, you might ask? Well, apparently he was let off the hook by a sheriff who was sympathetic, but also admitted, oh yeah, there was naked women on there. Here's this from the Oklahoman. Naked women did appear on Ryan Walters' TV, but no one to blame, sheriff says. That Ryan Walters, the Christian Ryan Walters, who's very concerned and torn up about the morality of the youth, is playing porn on his computer during meetings. The same Ryan Walters that did the porn also bought a bunch of the Trump Bibles, 500 plus, to put in classrooms. This was, by the way, just in March. These are in March, August, September. This is the damage he did in rapid fire succession before leaving the building on fire as he retreated. Here he is talking about his Bible purchase.
I'm excited to announce today that Oklahoma is the first state to bring the Bible back to the classroom. Today, we purchased over 500 Bibles that will be in the AP government classrooms across the state. Bible just like this. We have the Bible, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights. These are foundational documents in our nation's history. Our kids have to understand the role the Bible played in influencing American history. It's very clear that the radical left has driven the Bible out of the classroom, which leads to a lack of understanding of American history. We will not stop until we've brought the Bible back to every classroom in the state.
Wasn't just the Bibles. He also instituted a test for teachers, new teacher. If you come from California or New York, liberal havens, and you're moving to Oklahoma and you want to be a teacher, you got to take a test. You got to take a civics test. And where did that test come from? PragerU, of all places. Because, this former history teacher couldn't put together his own civics test. He had to go to Dennis Prager, their racist outfit. The outfit that said that, well, yeah, slavery's bad, but it's better than being dead. It's better than being murdered. Yeah, that PragerU. Here's the ghouls at Fox News, Fox and Friends, talking about what a glorious day it is because he's a conservative Republican and he's implementing this policy.
This is such a cool story. In Oklahoma, if you want to move to Oklahoma and you want to be a teacher, you're going to have to take this test because the superintendent of education for the entire state is super conservative.
While they're ventilating about this, I don't understand.
This is the same state they're trying to put Bibles in classrooms. And this superintendent, we have to read more about him. His name is Ryan Walters. I bet Donald Trump will say something about him because this is a bold move.
Right.
But good for him.
I think it's getting us back to the basics. And these schools are out of control. The kids can't even read. Something is going wrong. Math and reading scores are at all-time low. Got to get back to the foundation.
Can I just read quickly what Ryan Walters said? As long as I'm superintendent of Oklahoma, classrooms will be safeguarded from the radical leftist ideology fostered in places like California and New York. Any teacher coming from these states will be required to pass our new PragerU assessment before receiving certification because we refuse to let Gavin Newsom's woke Marxist agenda turn Oklahoma into the same dumpster fire California has become.
And that's not all. He also, and this is just the other day prior to quitting, this is him setting fires to the drapes inside the house before leaving out the front door. He is implementing that every high school in the state of Oklahoma will have a Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA chapter. The white Christian nationalist bigoted Charlie Kirk organization. The anti-gay. The anti-woman, the anti-democracy Turning Point USA in every high school in Oklahoma. Watch this.
I'm excited to announce today that every Oklahoma high school will have a Turning Point USA chapter. We have seen the outpouring from parents, teachers, and students that want to be engaged in the meaningful work going on at Turning Point. They want their young people to be engaged in a process that understands free speech, open engagement, dialogue about American greatness, a dialogue around American values. We're so excited to partner with Turning Point USA with this initiative. For far too long, we have seen radical leftists with the teachers union dominate classrooms and push woke indoctrination on our kids. They fight parents' rights, they push parents out of the classroom, and they lie to our kids about American history. What we're going to continue to do is make sure that our kids understand American greatness, engage in civic dialogue, and have that open discussion. We will continue to do all that we can to make sure Oklahoma students have the best education possible.
So, this chief Trump cult member is now moving on to try to attack teachers' unions, organizations that stand up for the rights and the welfare and the income of teachers to make their lives better, to make their jobs easier. He wants to end teachers' unions while violating the Constitution. Even the Oklahoma Supreme Court said, no, get this shit out of here with this Bible nonsense. This violates the Constitution. He wants to implement religious teachings, propaganda in schools. And now he's going to go and make money hand over fist with his own little organization here, trying to battle the teachers' unions. It wasn't lucrative enough to be an elected public official. He's going to take his chicanery and chaos elsewhere.
What about your father on Mount Rushmore? It just seems like after everything you all have been through, everything that he's endured, it just seems to follow.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it, and he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize so many times over.
You know, one of the things I love more than just about anything is weird fake Christians. I don't mean weird fake Christians like these pastors who claim to adhere to the philosophies and the teachings of Jesus Christ, the man they claim to be the Son of God. I'm talking about people who really have no understanding of Christianity whatsoever, the doctrinal differences between denominations, no idea about the history of Christianity or really just anything. And I'm not talking about granular level stuff. I'm not asking about like, what's your favorite scripture? None of that. I'm just talking about basic stuff. And the Trump family is really, they are steeped as being hypocrites and liars about their faith. I very much doubt that Donald Trump even believes that there is a deity, a God at all. I'm sure he is just a non-believer, right? He raised his kids as non-believers. They're not believers. They're not Christian. They don't attend church. They don't know about the difference between the New and the Old Testament. They don't know about the new covenant provided by Jesus Christ. They don't understand exactly what the salvation message is. They don't fucking know any of this stuff. Yet they talk. They tried their best to do a convincing Christianese kind of a language that they use. And they botch it at every moment. And this is a great example of it from Eric Trump, who was on apparently Real America's Voice has a morning show. They're really trying to be peppy with the energy to try to match what, you know, those saccharine, sweet anchors on morning shows do. I can't handle it. But watch Eric Trump here. And he's talking about the killing of Corey Comparatori, the guy who was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania, during the attempt on Donald Trump's life. The moment where Donald Trump absolutely was not shot in the ear. He wouldn't have a head if a round from an AR-15 came that close to his head. Trust me, it's just fact. And Eric is trying to really paint a religious picture here that God was there, talking about Corey Comparatori. I have to look at his name on how to pronounce it every time because I would get it wrong. Comparatori. He's saying that God was there, even though Donald Trump lived and Corey Comparatori is now dead. But trust us, God was there. What happened was God's will. Corey Comparatori, not important enough to live in the eyes of God, but Donald Trump needed to be saved. Apparently, it was an either-or situation. It was a binary choice for the strongest, most powerful being in the entire universe, the creator of our universe. Sorry, my hands are tied. Somebody's got to die, says Eric Trump. Watch this.
And a rifle round from 130 yards away.
And turned his head perfectly at the exact moment.
Just happened to nick him as opposed to kill him. That's a shot that can't be missed by a competent person with a rifle, right? And there's hundreds of those. I mean, I tell the story of Corey, obviously the incredible firefighter who's killed at Butler all the time. His wife told me that that morning he woke up and said, Donald Trump is going to call me up on that stage. Donald Trump is going to call me up on that stage. And he knew something. And the wife's looking at him. Is incredible. I mean, his family's beyond incredible and saying, Donald Trump's not going to call you up on the stage. What are you talking about? Like there's going to be 50,000 people at the rally. How? Faith is real. Faith is real. God was there. God was watching. Go back to 2016. I mean, we self-funded the vast majority of that campaign. He did, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't know what a damn caucus was. We knew nothing about politics. I mean, I remember him calling me up, and Megyn Kelly was going to kill us on his immigration stance. He calls me up. He goes, honey, will you go on Megyn Kelly tonight? I'll never forget. I was driving down the highway to go home. And so I turn around to go back into the city. And he goes, will you go on Megyn? I go, Pops, you understand. I don't know a damn thing. I'm really good at building hotels. I'm great at the golf course world. I'm really good at commercial buildings and residential. I'm really good at operations. That's what I did every day. I don't know a damn thing about illegal immigration. And here we were, right? And there was a sincerity to our family.
What does one thing have to do with the other? And why are you talking in this weird, fake, earnest tone, Eric? His wife said Donald was going to pull him up on stage. The wife's like, what? What are you talking about? That's nuts. Faith is real. God was there. God was watching. Well, then why didn't God save Corey's life, Eric Trump? If God was watching, why did God only choose Trump? Why didn't God save the shooter's life so he could go on trial and we could learn about the motivations of this sick, twisted freak, right? Right? Isn't that? What? Why not? Oh, earnest tone. We're talking about God, so I have to change the pitch and tenor of my voice. I have to seem super earnest and serious about this. God was there. Fake. None of this is real. Who believes this nonsense? Look, I know people believe it. I know people. The parents of dear friends of mine believe that Donald Trump is a mighty, righteous believer in Jesus, the Christ, who attends church not once, but multiple times a week. They believe this. They've deluded themselves, or maybe they were always just super deluded. I don't know. But that's not... Find me footage of Donald Trump leaving a church. That wasn't a funeral or some kind of an event. And then when you do find me that footage, show me him not acting like an asshole at the message that was preached, like right here in Washington, D.C. a few months ago, where he attacked the pastor, the female pastor, of course. Come on. He continues. Here's the deal that's so strange about it. He got himself into this weird rhythm and earnest, weird talk with his weird voice, and he couldn't get out of it. They kept talking, not even about God anymore. They're talking about Donald Trump and the Nobel Prize, but he couldn't snap himself out of the weird timbre and tenor and pacing and fake earnestness. It's just all... He is the worst son. He is absolutely the dumbest dumb shit who ever dumb shitted. Watch Eric Trump continue with the nonsense.
What about your father on Mount Rushmore? I know patriots will want me to ask that because they love that idea, the Nobel Peace Prize notwithstanding. But Mount Rushmore, it just seems like after everything you all have been through, everything that he's endured, it just seems to follow.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
He deserves it, and he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize so many times over. I've literally been in that office. I was in that office for one conversation where he literally stopped a war. In fact, I was in the office recently for another one where he stopped another one. I mean, the amount of children, and I say children, young kids right now that are running around the world who are alive based on the fact that he stopped conflicts that otherwise would have spiraled out of control.
Yeah.
There are moms and dads out there who have their kids based on calls that he's made and you know, conflicts that he's ended kind of before they really got out of control. Mm-hmm. And they have probably zero appreciation that, you know, many of their children and many of the people they knew would not be there had it not been for him. And he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. And to watch so many of these presidents in the past get the Nobel Peace Prize who did nothing other than, you know, fund the Pentagon's war machine and create conflict all over the world and enter these 20-year wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that cost our country trillions of dollars and thousands of lives, yet these guys are getting Nobel Peace Prizes. Yet Donald Trump is the one president who's actually never taken us the war. He's never gotten into a war. He's done everything humanly possible to keep us out of the war, and yet they kind of begrudge him that honor, which he deserves more than anybody. He deserves that Nobel Peace Prize. He deserves to be on Mount Rushmore. And I think in time he'll get both.
Well, the book is under siege. My family's fight to save our nation.
What do you do with that? What do you do with that? He ended a war. Yeah, there's also wars that he ended that hadn't even started yet. Because, it's great. There's so many wars. There's so many wars, y'all. Donald Trump deserves, what he deserves is he deserves like an extra Nobel Prize. They should give like 2 out to him for 1 year because he's done so many wars, ended the wars. And by the way, yes, he absolutely deserves to be, wasn't that the word he used? He deserves to be on Mount Rushmore. It's deserving. Everything is about what he deserves. And if people are mean to him, it's unfair. Your dad is a fucking toddler, right, Eric Trump? Your dad is a phoebe, a mental weakling, a physical weakling. He just displays cowardice in every element of his life and who he is. His very core and ethos is weakness and insecurity. And apparently he's passed that on to you either genetically, whether it be nature or nurture, you got it too. Weakling, cowards, stupid. The benefit for Donald Trump is between the two parties that he chose to try to be one of, he chose the right party because the Democratic Party, for all of its failures, isn't filled with morons like the Republican Party is.
I believe that Charlie Kirk's murderer should be put to death and that his execution should be publicly, nationally televised.
Why do Trump Christians, white Trump Christians, love killing so much? The pro-life party, the family values party, the party of Jesus Christ, the man who said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and that it's better to have a millstone, a giant, a stone that they mill, they sharpened, a giant millstone tied around your neck and have you tossed to the bottom of the sea to be dead, to drown to death, than to harm a child. The same Jesus who said to take care of the poor, to help heal the sick and the infirmed, to support the downtrodden and the oppressed. That guy, that same party, that same religion, also wants public executions witnessed by children of people they don't like, of people who they believe are a threat to them. None of it makes any sense. And this is a pastor. This is Joel Webbin, the guy who bemoaned, what am I going to tell my daughter when she sees people who have cultural garb? He called it Hindu garb, is what he called it. Hindu garb. Racist, bigot, freak, racist, white Christian nationalist. Taken up for it. Of course, he's going to opportunize relative to the killing of Charlie Kirk. And in this clip, he's saying we need to televise, publicly broadcast nationally on television, the execution of the suspect in the killing of Charlie Kirk. Because it's a deterrent for other people who might be thinking about carrying out wicked deeds, I think is the phrase that he uses. Wicked deeds against conservatives, against Christians. Not if you got wicked machinations against a liberal or a Democrat, but if it's against a conservative, we need to broadcast these executions on national television. Watch pastor, follower of Jesus, teacher, shepherd of a flock, Joel Webbin.
It needs to be proportional justice. It needs to be fair justice. There's a fair trial. It needs to be swift justice, not delayed. And if it's a public national crime, like the case of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, then that justice should be carried out publicly. What do I mean? I'll speak in no uncertain terms. I believe that Charlie Kirk's murderer should be put to death and that his execution should be publicly, nationally televised.
It's amazing to me how much fondness these Christian nationalists have for the Old Testament. Very little talk about the words, the red letters in the Bible. If you're not a Christian or you're not evangelical, I don't know how it is in other faiths. I grew up in this one. So there's the red letter editions of the Bible, which all of Jesus' words, the words that he spoke purportedly in the New Testament, are printed in red. So you know, oh, this is from Jesus. Paul's words, they're not in red. Jesus' words are in red, right? So it's interesting to me that they are so fixated on Old Testament style justice. But the other thing that I find super fascinating is he asks the question, well, what do I mean? And then he acts irritated that the question was asked, that he has to explain it, even though he's the one who asked the follow-up of himself. We see you, Joel. Everyone sees you. Right Wing Watch sees you. Thank you to Right Wing Watch for putting these types of clips together. The ever pressed into service staff over at Right Wing Watch, whose job is to watch these kind of maniacs say horrific, racist, bigoted things, supporting fascism, not supporting freedom, not supporting loving one another, not supporting love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, mind, and effort and being, and also love your neighbor as yourself. Not that. They have to watch this kind of shit, this kind of evil, this kind of totalitarian nonsense. Christo-fascism on the rise, getting a second drink from the well because of Donald Trump. So thank you, Right Wing Watch. I'll put a link below in the description for you to donate. If you got $5, help their work, support their work. It's very important. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about this, about Joel Webbin, about Christian fascism. It is a pernicious force in our world, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. Before you do, though, make sure you're subscribed to this channel on YouTube. We are marching steadily ahead to 1.5 million subscribers, and you could be number 1.23 million. I don't even know where it is right now, but I would appreciate your support in that way very much. Free to subscribe, free to like and follow the Facebook page, Dollemore Daily. It's also free to communicate. You can comment below this video, and you can call the voicemail line and leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you want a palate cleanser from this kind of hatred and nonsense, you can check out dollemore.com. And we're selling a children's book that is talking about gratitude. Talk about a palate cleanser, gratitude. It's called The Grateful Child. It was written by my best friend of over 30 years, the guy who almost died when we went on vacation in Scotland. He knows something about gratitude, and I'd love for you to check it out. In fact, here is a little something about the book. I really hope you'll check it out. Many of you are aware that my dear friend and brother of choice, not of blood, Brett McAfee, suffered a near-fatal medical emergency last summer while our families were on vacation in Scotland. I appreciate to no end the outpouring of support for Brett that you all gave. And I'm also very happy to report that he is safe and healing and working that long path of recovery. What I've probably not told you about Brett is that beyond being an excellent friend, he's also a talented writer. We have been the best of friends since we were kids, and I have been continually inspired by his creativity and by the truly singular take that he has on life. Over 2 decades ago, he wrote a poem called The Grateful Child. It's an acknowledgement of all the simple strengths that we tend to overlook. Written from the perspective of a young person, multiple grateful children express gratitude to their parents for the elements that make them who they are. The accounting of these everyday gifts inspires a clear reminder that we should not take anything for granted. I've shared Brett's remarkable poem with numerous people over the years, and a reoccurring response is that this should be a book. Well, we finally decided to listen to those people. The Grateful Child is not only a children's book for adults in your life, it's also an adult's book for children in your life. Everyone will appreciate its straightforward yet elegant celebration of life's little endowments. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code and order your copy or copies today. But this being an illustrated book, we could not survive on the words alone. To pair with Brett's touching words, we searched all over for an illustrator who could bring the Grateful Child to visual life. We landed on somebody right here in the community from this show. Leah Farshid is an internationally acclaimed illustrator who, like you, is also an audience member. The moment we saw the first images that Leah drew to accompany Brett's text, we knew we had a perfect combination. It brings me tremendous joy to share my best friend's beautiful poem and Leah's spectacular images with the world. Everyone can benefit from The Grateful Child, just as I benefit from Brett's lifelong friendship. Share this beautiful book with your children. Share it with your parents or other relatives. The Grateful Child is an easy and exceptional way to show appreciation for someone in your life, young or old. Support someone you love and support this channel by giving The Grateful Child. Click the link below to pre-order now, or simply scan this QR code. I am pretty sure your children need a copy. And your mom, your nieces and your nephews, your Grandpa Charlie too. Don't forget Grandpa Charlie. I think he'd love this. Make The Grateful Child a part of your life. It has been such an excellent part of mine.